Hello. Well, it's a year since I made my first video, my first nervous video. But today I'm going to do one about sauerkraut to celebrate a year of videos. So sauerkraut is an amazing food. It's one of those fermented foods, so it's really good for your gut. It's got loads of good things in it, and the main ingredient is simple, it's cabbage. So cabbage isn't everyone's favourite ingredient, but when it's chopped up, add some salt, a few other things, then it can taste really nice, and the main thing is it's so good for you. So I'm having a mini health drive at the moment, and I thought I'll make some sauerkraut. It's great to have, say, on the side if you eat meat, maybe with a bit of meat or something, but it's great with cheese as well. So you can add some sort of, maybe to most meals, just have a little bit of sauerkraut on your plate and know that it's doing you a lot of good. So I'm going to start by cutting up this cabbage. When you're making fermented foods is that everything has to be really clean, so make sure you wash your jar. So I've got a big jar here that I'm going to put my cabbage into, so I'm giving it a really good wash, and then I will sterilise it also. Okay, so I'll probably do it with boiling water or put it in the oven, but whatever, make sure it's nice and sterile, and everything must be clean, so your utensils and your hands. Don't get obsessed about it though. People often use caraway seeds. If you look, there's lots of recipes for sauerkraut. Mine's going to be very simple. It's going to be what I like. So I'm not going to use caraway seeds. I'm going to use some garlic. So I've got a nice clove of garlic here. And so I'm probably going to put in, depends how strong you want it, I'm going to put in 3 cloves of garlic. And I've also got some ginger. So I'm going to put some fresh ginger in as well. So I'm going to chop them up. I'll crush the garlic, chop the ginger. I just want to show you a little tip for ginger here. Just cut it up a bit. So to peel ginger is often quite difficult. You often end up just cutting it with a knife. Get a spoon. Good friend of mine, Leonie, taught me this. Get a spoon, little teaspoon, and just scrape it. Let's see if I can demonstrate it a bit closer too. I'm getting squirted with ginger here, but I am just scraping with my spoon like that. So I'm just scraping down like that and trying to grip my teeth as I show you. It's hard to show you and do it, but it really is so much easier to peel. And so you just scrape the skin off. It's not really peeling it the same, is it? So yeah, you just scrape it all off like that with your spoon. And then chop it up. So I'm going to chop the ginger up quite small, and then that's going to be added into the mixture. A big bowl of shredded cabbage, and I'm going to add some salt to that. Okay, so I've washed my hands really well. I'm sterilising my jar that I'm going to put the sauerkraut into after I've finished. I've got all the cabbage chopped up here. I've added some garlic. I've added about 4 cloves of garlic in the end because I like garlic. And I've added a good chunk of fresh ginger as well. Again, all chopped up. And now you add quite a lot of salt. So this is quite a small cabbage, but if you've got a bigger cabbage, you probably want to add 2 to 3 tablespoons of salt, so quite a lot of salt. Because the salt is going to help break down all the fibres in the cabbage. And then what you do is just squeeze it like this. So I'm going to be doing this with my hands into the cabbage, massaging it if you like. And it's going to take about 10 minutes to do that probably before you see any juice forming, because what happens is after a while of doing this, the cabbage sort of starts to break down a bit and you get juices coming out, and the salt is helping that to happen as well. And that's what we're going to do in the end. We're going to put it all into the jar, and it's going to be covered by its own juice, brine it is, salt water. So the fluid is coming out of the cabbage itself. The salt's going to be there as well, and it's going to be covered in that, and that's going to preserve it and stop it going off. And you'll be able to keep it in the fridge then for up to 6 months in the fridge. I don't have a fridge, as many of you know, and so, but even so, I've noticed on the shelf it'll keep for weeks. And just use your own common sense and look at the colour of it, the smell of it. If you like the taste of it, it's fine. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. So I've been massaging this now for about 10 minutes, and it's starting to go really moist. I don't know if you can hear that. Probably can because it's near my microphone, but I can hear that sort of almost squeaky almost sound, and there's a lot of moisture starting to come. Well, maybe a lot's a bit of an exaggeration. There's some moisture starting to come out of the cabbage now, and I added a bit more salt. And just to say, really, just make it from whatever you want, whatever flavours you like, you put them in there. So like I put garlic and ginger because that's what I like, and Tom won't eat this, so I can flavour it just how I want it for me because he doesn't like this kind of thing. And yeah, just experiment and see, get the flavours that you want, and try it. So you can't really go too far wrong. And we're going to put this in the jar in a minute. Just going to do it for another minute or two. But it's starting to break down now. The fluid, the water is starting to come out of the cabbage. It smells. I wish you could smell this. Although maybe if you could, you might put you off trying to do it. But it does smell quite strong. Quite a lot of garlic smell. But as it all ferments, it changes as well. It's a completely different taste, fermented food. So, and I think the major thing is, I mean, I like the taste of it, but also that it does you so much good. Okay, I'm going to put this in the jar now so you can see. Okay, so the jar's been sterilised. Let's have a look. Some sort of wide neck jar makes the job a lot easier. Because obviously you've got to be able to get the stuff in. I have actually sterilised a spoon here, so I could use a spoon, but to be honest, I find it easier to use my hands really. You might spill the odd little bit of cabbage, but it's usually not too bad. Put these last bits in. You want all the fluid to go in because that's a major part of this. So I'm pressing this down, really pressing it into the jar. And what I'm wanting to see is the fluid, the water coming over the top of this, which it isn't really at the moment, but it's starting to come now. So as I press it down really firmly, you start to see a bit of brine over the top. Now, if you're doing this and you feel there isn't enough brine, then you can always make your own. Just dissolve a bit of salt in some water and pour that over just so it's covered. But I think that's going to work. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, but actually the liquid is coming to the surface. Or should I say the cabbage is going below the liquid. Can you hear that? I'm probably lacking a little bit, to be perfectly honest. It could probably do with a tiny bit more in there to make absolutely sure it's covered. But what I'm going to do is give it a few more minutes, because I think, because I've been making this video, I've probably rushed it a little bit. And I think with a few more minutes, the cabbage is going to break down a little bit more and there'll be some more water naturally. So I shall do that. And what you can do is you can use some of the outer cabbage leaves if you want to cover the surface of that. But what I often do is put a little bit of cling film or something like that over the top. And then I can usually fit a jam jar inside there filled with water. So fill an empty jam jar with water and put it inside there. And that just keeps the cabbage pressed down under the surface of the fluid. So I'll put it on the shelf or somewhere then, out of direct sunlight, and I'll check that. It can take up to, they usually say between 5 to 14 days for it to actually start fermenting. Obviously it depends on the temperature in your home, but out of the sun
and then just check it and see. Keep checking it until you get to a flavour that you like. You can use that, like I say, it'll keep for up to 6 months in the fridge. Certainly keeps, oh, well, I keep it several months. I have used it several months, even just on the shelf, but be sensible about it. So enjoy. Remember how much good it's doing you. Really looking after your gut, full of vitamins as well. So lots of love. Until next week. Bye.